media days or?
So, yeah.
Actually,
so we stayed in.
Can we ask you that? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. So last time we were there, we stayed right there in Laramie, and the hotel we were in came out in the morning. Was going to go for a. There you go.
That's my check-in.
That's all right. So what happened? Came out of the hotel, was going to go for a little jog, and then ended up walking over to Starbucks that was about 2 blocks away. So ended up walking over there, and right when I walked in, he was right in front of me, and it was one of those like, okay, and I know who he is and all that. He turned around, and we started just having a conversation, and I think the golf coach from Wyoming was there. Marcel Yates rolled into Starbucks, and Steve Caldwell rolled in there. So we were all kind of there, and it was morning of the game, like a little mini convention, and the line was fairly long, so we had a chance to talk, and he was ahead of me, and he was gracious enough to buy me a cup of coffee, and got a chance to talk for a little bit longer, and then he left. So it was first chance to really get to know him, and obviously since then we've been in the same media day events, and then also in the spring meetings and all that, and he does a great job representing us as well.
So if you see him Saturday, you'll return the favor. It's your turn to buy.
Yeah. Well, I saw him last year at the game, and I told him, I said, hey, I don't have a cup of coffee for you right now, and we kind of joked about it. So that was our little kind of inside deal and first meeting, but we're not going to be staying right there in Laramie. We'll be in Cheyenne this time.
It's kind of a funny game day interaction, I'd assume, right? I mean, how many times do you
wake
up and
it
talk
was
with him?
yeah, you kind of you got your game face on a little bit, and then he was it was a good meeting, and certainly we're competing against each other, but it was good to kind of talk a little bit, and his first year there, and we're trying to just figure things out a little bit. So he's done a great job, and I talked about him earlier this week, but what he's been able to do, and obviously what he's doing this year, I mean, he's got a lot of respect in the coaching profession.
With Brett, it seems like the expectations were so high coming into the year this year that it was almost probably hard for him to meet those. But aside from the interceptions, obviously he's near the top of the conference in almost all the stats. Asked him how he thought he was playing. He said good enough to win. I mean, how do you look at how Brett's played this year?
Yeah, the expectations, that's really from the outside. Our expectations are how do we keep improving each and every week, and his game plan is different. So if you had the same game plan every single week, you'd sit there and just compare how he went and operated that, but it's different every week. He has to relearn a lot of different things, in my opinion. That's what our quarterbacks have done, and so to me, just his capacity to take the information in, process it, and then his time spent and how he prepares himself, that's what I've been most impressed with. And I think he's done a tremendous job of leading. And you go back to this last game, and we had a couple plays in there. When you have some interceptions and they go for touchdowns, that's as bad as it gets. And then you come back and you fire a throw like he did down to Cedric Wilson down the middle of the field, that's as good as it gets. So to me, not many players, not just quarterbacks, can just overcome that adversity and still be that aggressive and attack like he did. And I think that's been the most impressive thing.
Some injuries at the stud position with Jabril and Sam Whitney. Where do you guys kind of plan on going?
Jabril's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, those guys are, and the other guys we said were, going to be a game time decision. So we're fine as far as that goes. The guys that are out, that had Evan Tyler who's out, and Gabe who's out as well. So Gabe is at that position. You get other guys to step up, and that's one of the things too. We move a lot of guys around on the offensive side. We're also moving guys around on the defensive side, and to me, this time of year in college football, that is what you're dealing with. Everybody's dealing with injuries. I think there's very few teams that have their full roster that they started with, and that's part of it. You prepare for that. You don't know exactly how it's going to work out, and then you adjust.
What would it like to, we talked about this with Avalos a little bit, but see some of those defensive linemen play a lot of snaps against BYU. And I mean, you had guys like Elliot Hoyt who had extra opportunities. He made the most of them too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, you'd love to be able to put and rotate guys, especially at the D-line, but you also want to have your best players in. And I'll say this about those guys too. Those guys want to be in. And so sometimes even in practice, you try to take out a Sam McCaskill or a Thomas Spurbeck, they don't come out. In a game where it's tight, those guys aren't going to take themselves out. And when they're playing, and as a coach, you're not going to take a guy out when he's telling you, hey, I'm good. Now, they certainly, if they're so tired they can't go another rep, then we're going to have to spell them. And the other guys, the backup guys, are ready to go too. They're capable of coming in there and being effective, but I think that's what good players do. They want to play every rep. In a perfect world, hey, you're rotating guys, you're getting maybe half and half, you're trying to keep them fresh, but we haven't been in that situation.
Another storyline at times this season has been the defense kind of getting in situations where they've been backed up and coming up clutch. And kind of maybe one thing that isn't quite as noticeable is the offense that gets, backed up at times. But I was looking it up today. You guys have 24 touchdown drives of 70 or more yards, which is already more than you had all of last season. How hard is it to put together a drive like that game in and game out? And you guys have been able to do it pretty consistently.
Yeah, we sustained some long drives, and those guys have been executed. And you're right, the offense has been pinned back and put together some long drives, and really even towards the end of half. That's been a big part, I think, for us, is getting those scores going into halftime, especially in some of these tight games. But yeah, I think that's just part of the mentality of this football team. Defense, when you get the ball, they get the ball, and all of a sudden you're on the minus 25, you got to defend that. Offense, you get the ball, and you're on the 5, the 3, whatever it is. We're still trying to score. And so I think that's really just our mindset, is executing, putting the drive together. Those guys are taking a lot of pride in that too. That's not gone unnoticed with us as far as just the amount of yards we've put together in some of those drives. And that just says, hey, it doesn't matter where we're at, -1, plus field position, it's all the same mindset.
Brett said that prior to that last 90-yard drive in the most recent game that he looked at the guys and he said, hey, we've got to score here. We're going to score here.
Yeah.
What's it like knowing that you've had at least one 85-yard touchdown drive in the last 6 games? What's it like knowing that you can put – that's hard to do.
It is. Yeah, well, and what he said was right. We needed to score. That's going to be – you're not going to win the game if you don't do it. So probably maybe more than the yards is more of when the backs have been against the wall, guys have been able to go out there and get it done. And then just the distance, you add that, how far they've had to travel to do it. Certainly, that's one of the things too. We'd love to have field position, and I think teams against us have played that game. They've played the field position. We've seen some really good punters this year too. That's one of the other things, is this rugby style, and some of these guys, Colorado State, that guy could boom it, and we just haven't had great field position, but we put together those drives. And in that situation there, I don't think the guys flinched as far as the distance. It's just a matter of, hey, we got to go execute play after play, and then at some point the Jake Knight play is going to happen where you have that chunk, and that changed everything right there. If not, we'd have executed 4 or 5 to get down there, but that was nice to have.
Everyone talks about the elevation there, but when you count in Air Force, New Mexico, I think you play it like Mountain West has like 3 of the top 6 or something in terms of, and even you guys are top 20 here. Why is it not? It doesn't seem like it's really a big deal anymore. Or it's not a point that no one talks about. I know they're number 1. Well, why is that?
Yeah, I don't think it is, and certainly there's so many other things to talk about. With Wyoming, the way they're playing, that's probably the last thing we're focused on is, the altitude there. But I think the one thing, it's 3.5 hours. You can go do anything for 3.5 hours, and we need to show up and go play. And I think our guys, we've played there before. I don't think that's been something that's affected them. I guess if you're in it longer, it probably would. But we've done, a little research on it, and really it comes down to that. You're there for a short amount of time, and you're playing a game, and it's going to be exhausting anyway. It's another element, another factor. They have to play in it too. And I just think it hasn't been as much of a factor as what people make it out to be.
When you think about it, though, Bogus Basin's actually a lower altitude at the base than it is. It seems like a ways up there when you get up to Bogus Basin and look back down. it is a big deal from that standpoint.
Yeah, it is. We're not preparing up at Bogus, so we can't do that. It is what it is. There's only so many things you can do. You've seen the elevation masks that guys wear and all that. We're not going to throw those on our guys. It is what it is. But we've played there before, and a lot of these guys have played in that game, and I don't think that ever since I've been here, when we've played there, guys have ever walked out there and just said, I really felt that. That's just the way the game has gone. So it's really not been something that we've had to make a major focus on as far as what our players have told us.
I had a question request from Dave Southern, who's flying out right now. We got an email last night asking why we kept referring to Boise State defenders as studs.
The position?
The position.
Yeah.
They didn't know it was a position. We just want to get it on the record. what it means and how you define it, because this was a hotly contested issue.
We just thought we were just calling them all great players,
Yep,
right?
yep. They were asking us
every
why.
one of our defensive players are studs. That's just the name of the position. That's a boundary stand-up defensive end. So stand-up defensive end, stud, if you want to break all that down and how we do it in football terms. So because that guy is up, that guy is he also plays a little bit of linebacker, and other than that, that's really all I know, the history behind the name of it and all that. I never questioned why they called him that. I just knew that stand-up defensive end makes sense, right?
Yep.
So that's what they are, but we do feel like our guys are studs on the defense too. So I don't want to, if that confuses everybody, sorry.
All right, guys.
Good.